Happy New Year to you all. It's 2023 finally, right? And how has been your year? And I just want to encourage every one of you this evening to let us embark on a very interesting journey together. Okay, and I'm glad we starting the first edition for 2023 with a very strategic topic. A topic that, if well understood, can greatly redirect and reposition our 2023. And I'm so delighted that we have an authority in the industry. Is an authority when it comes to the aspect of building emotional intelligence. He has invested over 10 years, well over a decade, and those of you that are on our WhatsApp platforms, I shared with you a video of his about 12 years ago, and I showed you a video of his about a year ago, and you can see the transformation, and that is the power of personal development. And I'm so delighted. So where am I meeting you today? Am I meeting you in a good place? Are things working for you? Are you excited about your life? Or am I meeting you at a point of your life where you are a bit discouraged, where you are even doubting your capacity to make 2023 work for you? Okay, I just want to thank you all for creating time to be here today, because I believe strongly that after 60 minutes of engagement, okay, after 60 minutes of engagement today, I believe we'll be leaving you in a better place, all right? I believe strongly we'll be leaving you in a better place. Because the whole idea of today's session is to remind us of certain time-tested concepts that we can all use, okay? That we can all use to making 2023 a fantastic year, okay? So where are you watching us from today? Are you watching us from Abuja, from Lagos, from Accra? Where exactly are you? So I just want you, let's make it as interactive as possible. Just drop quickly where you are watching us from. And of course, it feels good to see new faces. Okay, it feels so good to see new faces. And it also feels so good to have old ones joining us. Okay, and host, let me quickly request that host, please ensure that everybody is muted. Okay, host, please ensure that everybody is muted so that we can have a very good recording, because this is being recorded, because you need to watch a replay, I can assure you. And after today's session, you have reason, okay, you have reason to wanting to share today's edition with your friends, with your colleagues, and with people that work with you. So I thank you once again for investing your time with Project 40 Knowledge Hub today. What is Project 40? Project 40 is a movement of young Africans, young African business people, entrepreneurs, and workplace professionals that are below the age of 40 or even above the age of 40, because 40 for me is just a midway. So if you are below 40, you should aspire. Don't ever allow 40 to pass you by. Ensure you do everything legally possible that you achieve greatness before the age of 40. And if you are above 40, I say to you not to worry. It took Jim Rohn was over 50 years before he started his speaking career. Okay, Jim Rohn is one of those people, thought leader that transformed my life. September, let me just say 2011. And when I discovered Jim Rohn 2011, I was eagerly looking forward. Okay, I was eagerly looking forward to meeting Jim Rohn. I never knew that Jim Rohn died 3 years before I met him. Okay, as at yesterday, I still listen to Jim Rohn. All right, so and that's the power of us living a well-focused life. So if you're above 40, I said to you, 2 years well spent can change anybody's life. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure, okay, to introduce to you a multiple award-winning speaker, an internationally renowned thought leader, all the way from Dallas, United States of America, Dr. Abiola Salami. Dr. Abiola Salami, if you can hear me, if you can see me, I say, please kindly mute yourself. And please, everyone on the chat column, please kindly just help me type in, welcome Dr. Salami to today's edition. If not, he could change his mind.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would say good evening to everyone. Well, it's good afternoon where I am. Or rather, good morning.
I know you should be tired. I know you should be tired. You should be having jet lag.
I
landed. But you know,
I know.
For your sake, like the message I sent to you in Yoruba that says "We Otobe," I thought that I have to stay up to make sure that I'm here for the 6 p.m. Interaction. So, I mean, for you, always. And I was watching the documentary that I was screening before we started, and you said something about the power of relationship, and this is what this is. I came into Dallas yesterday. I'm still jet lagged. I mean, I was telling my wife that I'm feeling sleepy, but I have to be up, for my brother. I have to be up, and it's power of relationship, So again, it's all right. We're here. We'll have a great time together. And everybody ask your questions. And please temper justice with mercy. I've heard about this squeezing thing, So please temper justice with mercy. But I'm here, to share as much as I can.
Okay, beautiful. So now I'm going to ask you about 5 quick questions. Then we dive into a very unique material I have right on my table right now, okay? And I believe we can achieve everything in the next 30, 45 minutes thereabout. Now, the first question, Dr. Salami. Okay, Dr. Salami, I know you've invested millions of US dollars in building yourself over the years, going to Harvard, going to different universities just to build and make yourself an authority when it comes to mastering our emotions, okay? Now, the first question I want to ask you, Dr. Salami, is what are emotions and how can they make or mar us?
Okay, thank you. That's a great question. So you had said that I've invested millions of dollars. It's not millions yet, it's thousands. Isn't it thousands yet? But of course, I look forward to investing millions of dollars in the work that we're doing. So it's in thousands of dollars yet. And the question is, what are emotions? And how can emotions make or mar us? Emotions are the feelings we have.
How are you doing?
Okay, I think somebody needs to be muted.
Yes, man. Yes, sir.
Okay, so emotions are...
please, host, please don't sleep. Host, please don't sleep. Always, please, sorry, Dr. Salami. I want to encourage every one of us, let's keep our mics muted. And please, host, I need you to be alert. Always ensure people are muted, okay? Go ahead, Doc.
Okay, so emotions are the feelings, that we have about something or about someone, or about a situation. A feeling you have about a friend of yours, about a lover, about a sibling of yours, about a co-worker of yours. That's about someone. A feeling you have about something, about some kind of food, some kind of house, some kind of vehicle, some kind of clothes, some kind of perfume, or about a situation that you have about maybe your country, maybe emotion you have about people who have integrity or people who don't have integrity, the emotion you have about excellence, the emotion you have about mediocrity, so it's about the feeling, right? The feelings that we have about things, about people, about things, about situations, and how we now manage ourselves based on the way we feel will determine if those feelings will break us or if the feelings would make us. Now, emotional intelligence is not saying that you will not feel angry, for example, about something that is repulsive to you. Emotional intelligence is not saying that you will not feel fear in when you want to try something you've not done before. For somebody, it is public speaking, when you're on stage, not this virtual engagement, it's when you're on stage and you have 100 people in the hall. Emotional intelligence is not saying that you will not feel the trepidation. It's not saying you won't feel the fear, but it's saying that how do you manage the fear so that you can always put your best foot forward, so that you can always say and do things that will help you to achieve your goal. So when we don't master our emotions and we feel angry, we can react in a way that will not make us achieve our goals. And many of us, we've been socialized into not having emotional intelligence. And for example, my friends on this call who are active on Twitter would know that anytime on Twitter, whenever there is a bass, there must be a boss, right? We're socialized into that. We're socialized into that the moment somebody says something that you're uncomfortable with, because you need to prove that you're not the kind of child that has to go back home to go and bring a response. You want to give the person response, pressed down, shaking together, running over, that you give it back, that you give it as it hot, and that even in your clique of friends, when you're having a discussion about something, it feels all right, to behave in a way that you don't think before you speak, or you don't think before you act based on what your goal is. So we've been socialized into behaving that way. And for some people, their socialization happened not just in their family, their socialization happened not just on social media, their socialization happened in the workplace, because they've seen what it looks like their organization is rewarding, and as much as it's at variance with what their parents, told them as the right thing to do, when they're out there. But when they get out there and they see that, the organization seems to reward unruly behavior, that, the organization seems to reward someone that is rude, or someone that is expressive in a way. And speaking of being expressive, emotional intelligence is not saying that you won't express yourself. Neither is it even necessarily saying that express yourself. It is saying emotional intelligence empowers us to know how to express ourselves and when to express ourselves. A lot of people, because they want to express themselves, they move from being passive to being aggressive. A total change from being passive to being aggressive. And you realize that both of them are actually indicators of low self-esteem. A passive person, who may say that is afraid of really engaging people, so the person keeps quiet most of the time. And then an aggressive person, a person who stamps himself or herself as being bold and just knows how to say things the way they are and being blunt. And both instances, while the aggressive person could be admirable to the passive person, both of them are indicators of low self-esteem. Where we want to be is to be assertive, which is you can be firm and friendly at the same time. But a lot of times people are socialized into being passive, around Africa, where they would say that, when the elders are talking, you keep quiet. And then because we don't appropriately administer that value, that value of decorum, because what they're saying is decorum, really. Because we don't put that decorum in perspective, we extend it beyond its use. So instead of being a decorum, it becomes a weakness. Because you see, a strength and a weakness, they are not really different from each other. It is when a strength is abused, which is a strength is extended beyond beyond its usefulness. That's when it becomes a weakness. So that value that is decorum, because we misappropriate it, and then the individual becomes passive, cannot even fully express their thoughts when the time is right. And then some people now overcompensate for that. Would say, this is how I grew up, and I don't want my children to be like that. So their overcompensation now moves from that passive nature into being aggressive, instead of emotional intelligence, that you know how to be firm and friendly, that you can choose and say what you're supposed to do and say in order to achieve your goal, to build great relationships with people, to give people the right impression about yourself, about your competence. And then people move from passiveness to aggressiveness, which is completely different. And it's the same result you would get. In fact, you just be seen more or less like a noisemaker. You say you're expressing yourself. You say you are bold. But what is needed is confidence. And confidence doesn't announce itself. Confidence just shows. The moment you are calling yourself a confident person, a confident woman, a confident boss, a confident child, a confident subordinate, you've lost your confidence, because confidence doesn't really announce itself. When you call yourself confident, it's actually arrogance, that you're tending towards. So it's important to understand these things about emotional intelligence, so that we can always put our best foot forward, so that we can say and do the right thing, that will help us to achieve our goal. Emotional intelligence begins with understanding our emotions, self-awareness. And then based on what you know about yourself, you manage yourself effectively to choose what you say and what you do, so that you can achieve your goal. Then the third part is social awareness, which is understanding other people, something we actually don't really pay much attention to. If you're a salesperson, one of the things you want to learn is to understand other people, so that you're not selling your product or service to them from your perspective, but you're selling it to them from their perspective. Seeking to understand people. And this is not just for salespeople. I mean, if you're married, or if you hope to get married one day, it's important that you understand, people. So you understand your spouse, so you understand your significant other, your lover. Even among your siblings, it's important that you understand your siblings, you understand your parents, you understand their interests, their needs, why they do what they do. That is what will help you to do number 4 in emotional intelligence, which is relationship management, creating win-win relationships. I think on that note, I want to pause for a while and hear more from you.
Wow. Fantastic. You said 2 things that really struck me so deeply from this intro. It's that we can be firm and friendly at the same time.
Yeah.
That what we need is being assertive. We can be firm and friendly at the same time. Yes. And thin line between strength and weakness.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means strength abuse can automatically become a weakness.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Fantastic. Now I'm going to quickly talk about the second question. And let me just go straight, and I'll pick that from your book, which I will talk about very shortly. All right.
Okay.
I would like you to talk to us. Now we've established nature of emotions and how it could drive us, and how we could define our personalities and the way people perceive us. Because someone that is emotionally intelligent, we know when somebody is rude and when somebody is proud. They say, me, I'm naturally confident. Let people say that to you, So before we go so deep, Doc, I want us to talk about those negative emotions and how they can negatively impact our goals for 2023.
Okay. I think number 1 on the list is anger. Is anger. There are people that will say, oh, you know what, I have anger issues. Or, you know what, everybody knows this thing gets me angry. At the moment I'm angry, I can say anything I like to anybody. I don't bloody care wherever you are. I will say it the way it is. Anger can in many ways prevent us from achieving our goals. Because now, to put this in perspective, we're not saying we won't feel angry. We're not saying that when someone does something to cross us, maybe somebody insults us, or maybe somebody tries to cheat us, we're not necessarily saying that we won't feel angry. What we're saying is that the expression of the anger is more important than the feeling of the anger. And we need to pay attention to how we express this anger. Because while you have been wronged by someone, the way you express the anger, you may now be the one that is wrong. Whereas you were the innocent party, you were the victim. But the way you express your anger may now put you in a position where the other person becomes the victim, right? And many people on this call can relate easily with what I'm talking about, because I'm sure at one point or the other, you've probably found yourself in a situation, or if you know someone who's found themselves in a situation where they were wronged, but the way they expressed themselves, the way they went about it, the way they went about the situation, they now became the guilty party. So you want to earn a promotion this year, for example, and there is a way your boss is engaging you. And rather than seek assertiveness in the engagement, you went aggressive with your boss with your anger. And then, sometime last year in Nigeria, there was the hashtag that was trending, horrible bosses, was trending. And then your boss has done something that may not really be horrible, but because you have been influenced by the content on social media, because none of us is smart. Every one of us, we are smart as the influences we submit ourselves to. Whether you submit yourself consciously or unconsciously, it doesn't matter. So far, you've submitted yourself to an influence. That is what determines your level of smartness. And because your boss has said something that you're not pleased with, it may not necessarily even be an insult. It may not be that your boss is overloading you with work. It's just because you have been nurtured into thinking that not taking responsibility at work is the way to go. And maybe some people are getting away with it, and you expect to get away with it as well. And then your boss points it out to you. And instead of listening, which we'll get into soon, talking about using this more than we use this, talking about using our ears more than we use our mouth. And then you open your buccal cavity to say something to your boss that will mean the end of your career, right? Or you're an entrepreneur, you open your mouth and you say something to someone that is supposed to be a potential investor or a potential customer or even a current customer because you are angry. And then that becomes the end of the relationship. So it is important that we know how to manage the feeling of anger. Somebody has accused you for something you are not guilty of, and they accuse you maybe even in a public place, and it's important that we know how to navigate the situation and deal with these issues. You see, because when we don't deal well with these issues, we may face some moments of truth. Moments of truth don't announce themselves before they happen. They just happen. And how prepared you are to deal with them before they happen will determine how well you would manage them.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now we've spoken about the negative emotions. Okay, so I would like you to dwell on positive emotions, because that is all what we all need right now. Some people, they will put up a post on social media, they will say, no negative vibe, please. If not, I'll block you. Okay, so I want you to please talk about those key positive emotions that we can consciously build, okay? Because I know some of these things are easier said than done. Like John Maxwell taught us, we must be deliberate because our body by nature is a very indisciplined structure, And one of the things you are helping us with right now is that you are helping us work on our mind, because the mind is supposed to be the master to the body. So I want you to please rework our mind further to identify those positive emotions and how we can leverage them to achieving our goals. Sorry, I said millions of dollars earlier, because in my head right now is millions of dollars ringing in my head, because the goals for this year is crazy. And I know that even me as a person, I need to leverage so much on positive emotions.
Okay, great. Well said. It is important to mention that in as much as we desire positive emotions, so that we don't just get high unnecessarily on positive emotions, it is important that we understand that for positive emotions, we need to cultivate them and regulate them. We need to cultivate them and regulate them. And I'll say that again, that we need to cultivate them and regulate them. For negative emotions, we need to regulate them. All we need to do for negative emotions is regulation. But what we need to do for positive emotions is we cultivate and we regulate. We cultivate because we need them. We need cheerfulness, we need courage, we need confidence, right? We need these emotions. But as we are cultivating them, it's also important that we regulate them, right? So that we can manage ourselves effectively. A lot of times, hope, for example, is a positive emotion. I call hope holding on with a persistent expectation, HOPE. Now, we cultivate hope. How do you cultivate hope? You cultivate hope by, like paying attention to the to the biographies of people. Someone, one of the people that we should pay attention to their biographies is Dr. Abioye, okay, on this call. I mean, you've heard his story about where he was, some 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and then now, based on the plans that he has for himself and how he started seeing himself differently, because he suddenly realized that it was far backwards, compared with his peers. So a story like that will give us hope, right? But while the story is giving us hope, it's also important that we don't just get high on hope and get choked on hope alone, because it's important that we regulate it. You see, when we don't regulate, we take the feeling of the story and we leave the works in the story. We take the feeling, the good feeling it gives us. When somebody shares a testimonial with us, we take the good feelings it gives us, right? And then, but we're not disciplined to ask questions on how. And when we get to know the how the person worked it, we're not disciplined to pay attention to staying through, to work out that thing the person worked out, to work based on the principles the person has shared. So it's important that, yes, we cultivate hope by, for example, listening to, paying attention to biographies, but also beyond that, that while we have heard it and it has given us some feeling, some good feeling, that we also seek to work it out. Another positive emotion is courage. And they said that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to persist in spite of the fear. One of the ways to develop courage is one of the ways to, yes, cultivate courage. Remember, we're talking about cultivation and regulation. One of the ways to cultivate courage is the people around you, the people you listen to most frequently, your circle of friends. How audacious are they? What kind of conversations do you have with each other? Are you all seeing yourselves are you all defining yourself by your situation, or you're defining yourself by a vision that you have, about tomorrow, something you're doing today to make tomorrow better than your situation today. So courage is great that you are trying things that are even beyond your capacity. So with that, you're stretching yourself and you're growing your strength. That is great. The regulation of it is to understand that you have strengths and you have areas of improvement. And while you want to dare something big and something great, you want to be sure that you are growing. You want to be sure you are growing towards that something big and something great. Because a lot of things we hear around around motivational speaking, out there, increases our courage level, but does not give us the biceps to make great things happen. It is one thing for someone to fill your head, with information that is inspirational. It is another thing for you to have the muscle, the emotional muscle, especially to birth that inspirational thing they filled your mind with. So it's important that we cultivate and we regulate. We cultivate, we regulate. So somebody is talking about confidence, another positive emotion that we need to regulate, right? You can be confident and humble at the same time. Confidence and humility go hand in hand. Arrogance does not go hand in hand with humility. So there is a way that you will say something that will convey humility and confidence. There's another way you would say the same thing, perhaps with different audience, that will that will communicate arrogance. So you want to regulate your confidence level. You see, a lot of people talk about confidence building sessions. But one of the things we do in Champ is while we are building your confidence, we're also regulating it because it can work against you. And anytime you find anyone on stage that is talking with utmost arrogance, you know the difference between confidence and pride, because confidence doesn't announce itself, and you can strike the proper balance to ensure that you are confident but not arrogant. You don't have to scream or shout, or have 100 people following you around carrying your bag, to show that you are confident. A lot of times, people who lack confidence, who have low self-esteem, rub their low self-esteem off other people and try to pull other people down so that they can be up. And that is not confidence. So those are things we can do in cultivating some positive emotions. I'm sure as you're flipping through the book, some of the things I'm saying, you'll be seeing it in that book around those emotions. So these are ways we can cultivate positive emotions and regulate them. It is very important. See, it is said that a vehicle without brakes is as unimportant as not having a vehicle at all. Power without control is nothing. So power is you cultivate the positive emotion. The control is the regulation of the emotion, where you can dispense, you can tune your confidence level up, you can make it average, you can reduce it, depending on who you are relating with per time. And where our power is in the regulation, not just in the cultivation, but in the regulation.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Salami. You just took me on a very interesting journey, and I'm sure those that are listening carefully to you are really deriving great value. And because for me, I'm rethinking emotional intelligence right now, because without emotional intelligence, all those goals will just be wasted effort. And you said some things that are very profound, and the ones that struck me the most, I keep noting them down. You said that expression of anger is even more important than the feeling of anger. For me, that is so profound. Before the innocent man ended up becoming the guilty man, your husband slapped you and you stabbed your husband and your husband died. So initially your husband did something wrong to you, but you reply with something even worse, and your boss spoke to you in a way you didn't like. You out of anger, you resigned without a plan. Those are negative reactions to negative experiences. And you said something that we need to cultivate positive emotions, and not just cultivate, we must regulate it so that it does not even work against us. Hope I'm doing a good summary, because I want to live here as one of your good students, okay? But for negative emotions, what we need to survive it, that we just have to regulate it. We just have to be very regulated by being deliberate, by being deliberate with the kind of reactions we give. And you said something, we should not get high on hope. We should not get high on hope, and we should always go deeper. And the power, I think the last statement you made was the power is in the regulation. Am I correct?
Yes. Power is in regulation.
In the regulation. Now, I need to, sorry, I'm taking you back a bit, back to negative emotions. Because right now I have the Bible of Emotional Intelligence on my lap right now, and I'm going to talk about it very shortly. I want you to please talk about depression, because most of the people listening to us today, most of them, if we do a survey now, a higher percentage are entrepreneurs. People see us out there, they always have this wrong notion that we are just okay, we are all right. But sometimes they don't know things we deal with. Last year, for example, for me was very eventful. But thank God for some certain knowledge I've been able to acquire when it comes to emotional intelligence, mindfulness, and my ability to ask myself certain questions like, Abioye, who would you become if you overcome this challenge, for example? Now, Dr. Salami, there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there right now. Some of them are even on this call, you never know. They are currently battling with depression because of missed targets, because of business going bad, because a business that goes bad affects the integrity of the entrepreneur.
Yes.
Because every product represents the manufacturer. And once the product is defected, then of course it affects the integrity of the manufacturer. So I need you to please speak to our mind, on the danger of depression and why we should try not to get depressed, and what can we even do to slip out of depression. When we slip in, we slip out. Because sometimes, we are all natural. There are moments whereby I feel so down. But
Mm.
I will just have a brainwave all of a sudden. No, Abi, remember your next 10-year goal. Remember who you plan to be. Then I pick myself up. I encourage myself. So please speak to us about the danger of depression and how we can prevent this, really.
Okay, great thing that you've said, and it's a reality for entrepreneurs. I've been in this business full time for about 11 years, and of course, there were times that it's very high. There are times that it's low. There are times you set targets, you're not meeting them. But what I've found in all of this is, one, it's important that we're realistic with the goals that we're setting for ourselves. There's this acronym for goal setting: say simple, measurable, achievable, realistic, and then it should be time bound. That we're realistic. Again, back to not getting high on hope. How did you set the goal that you set? Because you heard someone, a peer of yours, that I said that, oh, last day I did 10 billion. And by the way, a lot of entrepreneurs talk big. And then because the person is talking big, you didn't even have a way to verify what the person is doing. You've not even built the muscle, the strength that the person has. You don't even have the structure that the person has. You don't have the kind of investors the person has. You don't have the things that will build up to having that commercial value that the person has mentioned. And then you just heard the figure and you immediately set it as your own goal that you want to meet it or you want to beat it. And you are setting up yourself for depression. Am I saying don't aim big? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying aim big and be ready to stretch your competencies. So if I see you committing to learning more and developing yourself, I will see you as someone that will most likely achieve the goal that you are pursuing. A lot of entrepreneurs become depressed because they have high-falutin goals and they don't seek knowledge. I'm sure that there are a number of entrepreneurs who got to know about this session holding today, but they didn't subscribe for it. And this is even free, so because you see, ignorance will not only make you fail, ignorance can get you killed. What you don't know can kill you. Ignorance can get you killed. Ignorance can keep you depressed because you don't know. And because you don't know, you just have this ego, because maybe somebody has told you that you can do all things. And they told you can do all things, and you didn't even also pay attention to that phrase, because whoever is telling you knows that you are ignorant and indolent, that you won't even go and check for this, I can do all things. What is the context that it was said? And then we just embrace it like that and we'll be running. So to avoid ignorance, to avoid depression, one of the things you want to do is to commit to consistent learning. The more you learn, the better your thought. The more you learn, the more energized you are. The more you learn, you can prevent yourself from unnecessary frustration. The more you learn, you can prevent yourself from bad investment. But when we are not exposed to information, we can do a number of things wrong. And one of the biggest reasons we don't learn is ego, our ego. We expect that whoever will teach us, we'll analyze whoever wants to teach us anything that we don't know. We expect the person to be better than us, in every way. Whereas the only thing the person may know more than us is that bit of knowledge that we don't have. So we expect the person to be packaged in a way. We expect to see the person in a way. And there are people who are packaged who actually don't have content. So you go with the packaging, but zero content. And then you'll be excited. You'll be filled with a lot of hope, but zero strategy, zero action. So as entrepreneurs, and perhaps you have resigned from your job just because you got upset with your boss, and then no real plan, and then you don't have a coach, a consultant, which is another great thing. Some people think that it's you're throwing away, you're dashing people money. When you engage a consultant or you engage a coach, you as an entrepreneur, you need a personal coach, an executive coach. And that's someone that really knows what they're doing, not just because the person is also another successful entrepreneur, because we are always disillusioned with results. We are disillusioned with results. The moment we see somebody achieving a result, we start to call the person our mentor, our coach, whereas you probably don't know what exactly the individual did to get to where they are. And you may not be able to put your hands on what they did because it's not as legitimate as you think. You may not put your hands in what they've done because it's probably just a cover, for something else. But because we're indolent for the most part, we just go with the flow. We just say the person has results, and we just go with the flow. So what we are saying, to prevent you from depression as an entrepreneur is you want to get knowledge. You want to get knowledge. You want to you want to ensure that your ego is not getting in the way of your growth, by learning. You want to ensure that you don't just get high on hope unnecessarily. You want to ensure that when you are hearing what people are delivering, you don't immediately jump up. You want to find out what are the building blocks to it. What did they do? What exactly did they do that you can learn, right, to continue to grow? Now, if you are now already in depression, what do you do? One of the things you want to avoid is solitude. You want to avoid being alone, right? You want to avoid being alone. You also want to avoid going out, just like going out, going to party, going to a club. I'm not condemning all of that. I'm just saying that when you're in depression, that's not what you want to do. Because when you go out to drink, to do all of that, you get high and then your sorrow continues with you. Also, some people would say, well, I'm not going to drink, I'm going to worship, in many ways, because it's the same hormone that this thing secretes in us, the alcohol getting high, the worship, it secretes a hormone in us and we misinterpret it to be spiritual, and what you find is that after you've done all of those activities, you feel really great about yourself, but you go back to your problem because you have not received insight that will take you out of ignorance. Miracle is not an alternative to personal responsibility. There is miracle, but miracle does not in any way absolve us of personal responsibilities. So you want to avoid solitude. You want to look for a source, a place where you can have a conversation with maybe a support group of people, perhaps people going through what you are going through. And it's not that you guys are in the pity party. You're just sharing with each other and you're listening to other people who are also saying what they've done right, what they've done wrong. And in the middle of that support group, you can find solace, in that support group. Solitude is dangerous when you're in depression because it can lead to suicide. Solitude is dangerous when you're depressed. But the real deal is to make sure you avoid depression. That you avoid depression, anything that can make you depressed. Don't get high unnecessarily on hope. Be inspired by people's stories, but roll your sleeves to get to do the work so that you can achieve the results that you are hearing. Go get ready, build the right structure, learn, grow. Because you see, as entrepreneurs, success for us is not how much money we have made. The biggest indicator of success for us is who we are becoming on this entrepreneurship journey. The biggest success is not the money that's in the bank. No, the biggest success is who you are becoming. Haven't you heard it before? On Wall Street, somebody that is worth $1 billion will jump off a 35-story building, and commit suicide. The guy has the money, but he did not become a kind of person that can handle the pressure, of what is going on with the individual. We've heard it before about people that were humble when they were broke, and the moment they had access to power, they started misbehaving. It's because they are not the person that can handle, the money that they have. You've heard of people before that were quite approachable before they got into political office, and then the moment they have a modicum of power, and I'm not just talking about even presidency, maybe at the local government level, it may be at state level, but the moment they have access to power, they misbehave. There's a quote that says that, I'm paraphrasing that quote now, that nearly every man can handle adversity, Nearly every human being, by man, not just the male species, but nearly every human being can handle adversity. But not everybody can handle prosperity. Nearly every man can handle adversity, but not everybody can handle prosperity. So the level you are now, the humility that you're showing, we don't know how humble you are yet until maybe you go to Harvard. They start calling everybody in your environment that they don't have sense. That if only they have gone to Harvard, that they would know. The humility you have is because your name is not on Forbes yet. Because the moment it's on Forbes, you start telling all your friends that the reason they are not successful like you is because you fill in the gap with something. The reason you're humble right now is because you don't have a lot of money, more than your friends yet. The moment you do, you start carrying shoulder as though you were created with shoulder pad, right? So the critical thing as an entrepreneur is don't always only think about the money you are making. Think about who you are becoming. Who you are becoming is greater, of more value than the money you are making.
Absolutely. Because like I said earlier, the critical question, who will I become? Who will I become? Should I overcome this challenge? Because challenges are inevitable.
Yeah.
And you said something very profound. We must seek knowledge. If not, we could be assassinated by ignorance. I remember what knowledge has really helped me in the journey of my life. The kind of philosophies we imbibe also is very important. Like Jim Rohn, one of the things I learned from Jim Rohn, he rightly said that don't wish for less challenge, wish for more skills. Don't wish it was easier. Yeah. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Okay. So for me, when I enter my phase, any challenge, I just have you've got to be better. That means there's something you don't need to learn. Okay. So for me, I find that exciting, like an exciting experience, because I just want to learn more so I can exit that challenge, because whether we like it or not, challenges will always come. Dr. Salami, before I let you go, because I need you to rest, please, in your book, you wrote about the inner circle and the outer circle. Okay, how can we leverage these two to achieving greatness in 2023? Don't worry, 2024 will come, but at least let's achieve something great this year first. Let's lay a great foundation. So I'm particular about 2023. Inner circle, outer circle.
Okay, the inner circle concept in the book talks about our social relationship. Talks about you, your spouse, your children, your extended family, and your friends, right? That is important that we pay attention to how we manage our relationships with them. There are some entrepreneurs whose success is only money out there, but not inside. Now, I'm not in any way saying that you want to have a perfect relationship with people. No, I'm saying that you want to do your best to ensure that as much as possible, you are building great relationships with people. Because there's a quote that says that when dealing with people, let us remember we're not dealing with creatures of logic. We're dealing with creatures that are prejudiced, creatures of emotions, creatures that have biases. It's important. So we're not saying that automatically the way you relate with people will erase their bias or their prejudices. We're saying that in spite of their biases and prejudices and emotions, they're able to create win-win relationship with them based on the goal. So we don't just think about these relationships in terms of outer circle, which is more professional. We start from inner circle, which is our family members, our friends. And as entrepreneurs, depending on who is in your inner circle, that's your family, your friends. In many ways, it can even help you with your business. Some of them can work for free. Some of them can volunteer for you. Some of them can connect you with other people. Some of them can unlock opportunities for you. But when you don't grease the relationship, how would they unlock possibilities for you? In network marketing, we call those people your warm market. We call them your warm market, your friends, your family members. So it's easier for you to sell anything to them. In fact, when you're selling anything to them, they're not necessarily buying based on the value that you're communicating. They are buying because it's you, right? They're buying because it's you. But when you don't have a great relationship with them, how can they buy from you? So it's important to deepen those relationships. I see the easiest way to deepen relationship is to care for people and show that you care. It is said that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It also includes your inner circle that we take for granted for the most part. If I ask you now, some of your siblings, especially if you're a younger sibling, you probably remember your older siblings when you need them for money or for something. You probably remember your parents when you need them for something. You probably remember people when you need them for something. But it is too late if you only remember people when you need them for something. What you always want to do is to touch their hearts before asking for a hand. In fact, you may not ask for a hand at all, but continually seek ways to touch their hearts. It's their birthdays, their relatives, reach out to them. It's not even on their birthdays, casually call them, right? Reach out to them, send them a gift, do something, right? What you want to continue to do is to endear people to you. And when you need them, they'll show up. In fact, you may not call them to show up for you when you need them. They may, of their own volition, come around and support you. So that is inner circle. For outer circle, the same thing plays out. And although what I've found as well is that people want to seek inner relationships in the outer circle a lot of times. So you want to seek personal, intimate relationships in a public space. And a lot of people do it with social media, where they assume that because somebody's liking their posts or commenting on them, it means the person is their guy, or they have a great relationship. Not necessarily. A lot of people are transactional. When they think you can get them to where they're going, that is when they follow you. Because people are always asking, what is in it for me in an interaction? But how you want to make yourself different, is to ensure that you're not always about what is in it for you. Rather, you're always about how can you be there for other people. And the more you are there for people, even in your outer circle, your colleagues, your customers, your bosses, your people that are not your family members, the more you are there for them, the more that they also open up themselves to you. Now, being there for them doesn't mean you should you should earn your salary and then go and spend it to buy things for them. No. Being there for them, there's some difficulty with their work. Can you simplify it for them? For the customer, there's a complaint that they have. Can you ensure that you help them to manage this? And I give you an example. I have a mentor who is 90 years old. And when I say mentor, not someone I know from afar. It's someone that I developed a relationship with closely. And the way our relationship started, it was just a customer of a bank I was working. And his account wasn't even reporting to me until he had a complaint one day and he brought a letter. And this man I got to know later on, that he's so renowned that the MD of the bank as at that time is like a son to him. So meaning that he could have called the MD to tell the managing director the problem on his account. And if your managing director got to know that there's a problem on the account of a customer, you can imagine what could happen. Somebody may be sacked, somebody may be queried. And that's how the person who was managing the account found a way to ensure that the account was reporting to me. So that in case there's a query for who is mismanaging the customer's account, they will call my name. I had a choice to blow the whistle to say, you know what, I know nothing about this account, or the other choice to solve the problem. So I chose to solve the problem. In solving the problem, I was relating with him. I didn't really know who he was because it wasn't a time where, you had everything on social media and then you can type in a name and find out who the person is, And so I'll call him to give him prompt reports. And at some point in time, I said, well, I shouldn't worry that now he understands what happened on his account. So anytime he comes to the bank, he comes to ask for me to attend to him for his transactions. The conversation went on, and one day I just asked him, because I like his comportment, the way he talks to me. I mean, he's a very senior person. He is about 50 years older than me. I said 50. I like the way he communicates. I like the way he carries himself. I just asked him that I would like him to be my father. And he said I should be willing to be a son. That was 2008. That is how many years ago now? 15 years ago. That's 15 years ago now. Eventually, when I left the bank, I was going to another company. I didn't know it was the chairman of the new company I was going to. That would mean a lot, right? I'd also ensured that we don't even have an interface in that new company, because I also understand how people behave, when they know you have access to people like this. Eventually, when I started Champ 11 years ago, it was the chairman, still the chairman, of Champ. I'm saying that I didn't know him from anywhere. It is service, that helped, and in many ways, he has unlocked many possibilities for me as a person and for Champ as an organization. So It is about serving people, giving, serving people, genuine service to people.
Wow. Service to many indeed leads to greatness, great recognition, and great respect. Beautiful. You said something earlier, why people go into depression, because they are so packaged without content. So for me, I would like every one of us on this call today to go back to reflect tonight that am I packaged without content? If I have content, how deep is my content, and how much penetration can I achieve in the marketplace with the kind of content I have? Do I need to build new content? Okay. With all these goals I have for 2023, what are the books I need to read? Okay. Because today is very deliberate. We are starting this Project 40, the first edition for this year, talking about emotional intelligence, how to treat people, even how to treat ourselves, how to regulate ourselves, how to cultivate the positive emotions, and so on. And in terms of building content, and I'm not saying this, I've done this severally, even when we are not on the same space like this now. I want to encourage everybody listening to us today to reinforce your content by getting this book I have right in my hand, okay? This book is titled The Magic of Emotional Intelligence. The Magic of Emotional Intelligence. How champions apply emotional intelligence to achieve peak performance and advancement in life. Okay, and guess who the author of this fantastic book is? Okay, no other person than Dr. Abiola Salami. Okay, so it's a privilege, because for me, virtually all the questions I've asked Dr. Salami this evening, I think it should be morning or early afternoon at your ends in Dallas, okay, we're all inspired from this book. And when you get a copy of this book, do not have what Kemi Ogunkoya once called during the last edition she had with us, don't have chef mentality. Okay, don't just put them in your shelf and say, oh, okay, I'm just trying to beautify my library. No, you've got to read. You've got to contextualize. You've got to localize before you start applying. Okay, because the way I'm applying some of the concepts from this book might be different from the way you apply it, because our realities are not the same. All right. So, Dr. Salami, before you go, okay, yes, I will need you to do like 2 or 3 things for us. Okay. Okay. Number one, I would like you, there's a way you can type out your Instagram handle so that the conversation can continue on Instagram. And of course, if you are sending a DM to Dr. Salami, you know that you've got to send a DM full of value. Because if you just send anyhow DM, I can assure you will not respond to you. He's emotionally intelligent enough not to respond to you. Okay. So, sometimes people take access for granted, and so I want to encourage them to connect with you on Instagram, and I'm sure with your name, they can easily find you on LinkedIn, all those great, beautiful articles of yours, and that are really, really life-changing, that can really help anybody achieve peak performance and even help us advance in life, because we all need advancement. We all strive for advancement.
True.
Then secondly, we need advice on how we can easily get a copy of this book. Okay. All right. I know you've not asked me to do this, but I can't just have this book alone. I know some of our mutual friends on this call, some of them have their copies already. And before you even said it, when I got this book delivered to me, you autographed this book for me. So which makes it special. So that I can never give this book out to anybody. Okay. And you said, my dearest brother, your greatness shows forth like a light. Your greatness can never be hidden. Thank you for giving to champ and keep rocking your world like a champion. When I read it, it stirred up positive emotions in me. So, what it simply means is that we need to create how to stir up positive emotions in people. Because it leaves, it goes a long way in making depression far from them. So we need to be careful because we need to commit. If there's anything I want us all to commit to today is that I'm going to ensure I stir up positive emotions in people with the kind of statement I make to them, with the kind of things I say to them. My domestic staff at home, for example, I treat them exactly the way I treat my head of department in the office, for example. And I see them coming up. At the end of the day, they will end up saying, oh, I would like to study this. I would like to go for this skills acquisition, and so on. And it's very important because your mate today might end up becoming your son's boss tomorrow. So, Dr. Salami, this book is it's very profound. It's very timely. And I need you to please advise where we can easily get a copy of this.
Okay. So thank you very much. When you started talking about the book, somehow I knew to get to this. So I typed in the URL already, where people can get the book. It's in the chat box. I also added my social media handle. Everywhere is at Abiola Champ, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's at Abiola Champ everywhere, on YouTube as well. Have some amazing videos on YouTube that will be of great value to you, to everybody on the call, especially ladies. We have a particular playlist, a particular track, something we call the Peak Performing Woman, that I think you will find really, really valuable, on YouTube. So we can get the book from that URL, and then at Abiola Champ on every social media. You can follow, consume the content, send me a DM, also tell your friends, because I know that as we're having this conversation today, some of us are thinking about some of our colleagues, our friends, who would need the conversations that we're having. Be your brother's keeper, be your sister's keeper, be your lover's keeper, and share with them.
Fantastic. And I like that concept for women, because for our society to really expand, for us to achieve our aspiration as people, we need our women greatly empowered. Like my son, for example, he does so excellently well in school, not because of his father, it's because the mother is educated, the mother is empowered, and that's the only way, the fastest way we can touch our society. And that's one of my greatest fantasies in life, is to have a girl child. And thank you for that platform you have for women already.
Thank you.
And of course, for those of you that struggle with the URL and everything, just send me a DM. I will also connect you on how you can also get a copy of this book at no extra cost. Not to worry, at no extra cost. Then finally, Dr. Salami,
yes, sir.
Please, your parting word for us. Okay, and what will be your parting advice for us as we go back to the real world? Because right now, once we end this call today, we are going back to reality. Okay, and I can assure you that 80%, sadly, I hope I'm not breaking your heart, 80% of those on this call today will not apply all these concepts you've shared with us, so unfortunately. So please say something to us that can help us improve on these statistics.
Okay, so generally, one of the things that prevents us from applying what we learn is because we're not really listening. You know, we're not really listening. The proof of listening is the questions we ask and what we write down. So my encouragement to every one of us is so that this 1 hour conversation will not be a waste, because it's a time in your lifetime, that we have expended. So that it is an investment. You want to practice the things that you have heard from us. And 2 is that this year, you want to ensure that you listen more than you speak. Every one of us. We listen. We use these 2 ears more than we use this 1 mouth. That is what we want to do going forward. When we listen more, we will learn. When we listen more, we will avoid potential conflict. When we listen more, we will endear ourselves to people, because a lot of people like to talk. And then when you join them in the talking, you're not different from them. But when you listen, right, you're different from them. So let's do our best to listen a little bit more than we talk this year. And with that, we will see us achieving our goals.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Everyone, please, on the chat column, help me to thank Dr. Salami. Just keep saying, thank you, Dr. Salami. Thank you, Dr. Salami. Dr. Salami. So that next time we invite him, he will come, okay? And thank you so much, Dr. Abiola Salami, for doing all this before. I know your words. I know how much people pay to come for your event. And you said something very striking. Every one of us, if you're a serious entrepreneur, you must have your personal coach. In short, I have like about 2 or 3 coaches there that I work closely with. They advise me, they guide me on different aspects of my business. It's very important. And I always set up a budget for this every year. So I want to encourage everybody on this call also, please identify people that you feel can help you achieve those goals. I don't know what those goals are, okay? So identify people that can help you so that at the end of the day, even when you miss your target, you don't go into depression. You have a very solid support structure. And I want to encourage us as entrepreneurs also, please, let's change our mind towards, in terms of, I want to achieve my goals because I want to drive a G-Wagon. I want to do this because I want to build this house. Just tell yourself that the reason why I want to achieve this goal because I want to help humanity. Okay, so that the day when you are not meeting your target, you have a conversation with God. God, this is not primarily about me. It's about destiny tied to these goals. What do I need to do again? Okay, then you enforce yourself with knowledge. Okay, you enforce yourself with knowledge, enforce yourself with the right people, and you'll be surprised that 2023 will end up becoming your best year ever. Thank you, everyone, for joining the Project 40 Knowledge Hub for this January. We'll be back again 26th of February with another edition. We are all very grateful to Dr. Abiola Salami for this great honor he has done to us. And for those of you that joined late, not to worry. We are going to post in the next 48 hours about the link of today's edition will be on our YouTube channel. So you can watch a replay, you can share the replay. And I want to encourage you all, we have great plans for this Project 40 Knowledge Hub. Just be patient with us, okay? As you know, this is more about creating a community of knowledgeable workplace professionals and entrepreneurs, okay? And I believe with God helping us and with us working together, we'll be able to achieve a whole lot of aspirations we all have for this very platform, okay? So like the French will say, petit à petit, l'oiseau fait son nid. Little by little, the bird makes its net, okay? So let's do what we can. Then eventually we'll build more capacity to doing more, to making this community indeed a world-class community. Thank you for coming. Thank you for attending. Thank you for showing up. We'll be back again. God bless you.